down the theft of these particular cars. So that being said, let me turn it over to Attorney General Tong, and he can talk about next steps that he's contemplating. Once again, Mike Walsh, Town of East Hartford, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. Let me start by thanking the Mayor and the Town of East Hartford and the Chief of Police, Scott Samson, and all of the officers here who are on the front lines of this issue and the rash of thefts of Kia and Hyundais. And I said when we got in the elevator, when I saw the club, I said, what is this, 1991? I was only half kidding that we have to resort to this technology, I guess I would call it, to keep people safe and to stop this rash of car thefts. So I'm here today to announce that the state of Connecticut is now launching a full-blown consumer investigation, a consumer protection investigation, into the failure of Kia and Hyundai to deploy effective anti-theft technology and to protect all of us from their cars from getting stolen at an inordinate rate. Let me just say, first of all, it didn't have to come to this. A little bit ago, I joined with 17 other attorneys general across the country calling on Kia and Hyundai to do the right thing. We know that cars from 2011 to 2022 made by Kia and Hyundai do not have effective anti-theft devices and technology in their cars. They don't have what are referred to as car immobilizers that stop a car from being hot-wired and stolen. And we asked Kia and Hyundai to step forward and do the right thing. And they did some things, but whatever they're doing is not enough. And the way that I became introduced to this issue is we started seeing on social media, I think more than a couple years ago, that there were videos on social media that teach you essentially how to steal a car, but particularly Kia and Hyundai's, in a very short period of time, like less than 60 seconds. And these videos are directed mostly at young people. And young people across the country are watching these videos and learning very quickly how to hotwire a car, like in the 70s or 80s, right? How to boost a car and steal it. And then, of course, not just go on a joyride and to steal the car, but also to put other people's lives at risk. This has resulted in major property damage, major public safety risks and hazards, and people have gotten hurt and people have gotten killed. And so this is a very serious issue that we have called on Kia and Hyundai to fix and address, and they haven't done it. What they've done is they've had selectively, people have showed up at their dealerships and have said, I've got this problem, car was stolen. Sometimes the same car is stolen more than once. So they get the car back and then it's stolen again. And they go to the dealership, and if they get someone to pay attention, the dealership says, okay, maybe we'll give you a club, or maybe we'll sign you up for a software update. And then the update is either not available or it takes some period of time, and you have to wait for the update. And then we've heard reports that the updates have been done and they didn't work. And now, on top of that, we're hearing reports that some insurers are refusing to insure these vehicles, which renders these cars effectively undrivable. And so back a couple months ago, I joined with 17 other AGs calling for Kia and Hyundai to do a recall. They haven't done that. We've called on Kia and Hyundai to deploy effective anti-theft immobilizing technology and devices in their cars. They haven't done that. And so because of that, we are left with no other option but to launch a full-blown consumer protection investigation that we're announcing here today. So I'm joined by a number of folks that are on the front lines of this issue, and we're going to hear from our East Hartford Police Chief, Scott Samson, and then we're going to hear from my partner in consumer protection, our new Commissioner of Consumer Protection, Brian Caffarelli. Let me just say that since Commissioner Caffarelli has taken office, we've launched a number of initiatives. So I want to thank him and the department for his support and help. And then we're going to hear from our State Senator, Saud Anwar. So With that, let me turn it over now to East Hartford Police Chief Scott Samson.
Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the help with this. You know, this is not only a crime problem, it's a consumer problem, really, first, that ended up being a crime problem. Because these cars are being stolen by kids. They're watching YouTubes and they're watching the videos and TikTok. And the technology should be in the cars. You know, it's cheap technology when you're building the car. But as you said, I mean, simple club that we're putting out to help combat the problem until it is fixed. So we appreciate all your help you're doing on the consumer end. Because we are seeing these cars stolen over and over and over again. We're giving out clubs to our residents. We bought some. We've gotten other clubs from the manufacturer. But we're giving them, and it's working. Just to put it in context, we've had 100 stolen cars approximately this year so far in the last 6 months. 50 of them have been, actually 52 of them have been Kias or Hyundais. So that's 50% of all our stolen cars. Some of them are repeatedly stolen. We've had one, it was stolen from a home, then it was brought to be fixed. While it was being fixed, it was stolen twice out of the parking lot. So it's definitely an issue, and it seems that there's some small fixes on the manufacturer's end that can do that, so this doesn't happen. The technology is definitely there, and it's a very simple fix when they're building the cars. But for now, I think I had this program back when I was a commander in the Major Crimes Division of Hartford PD when I had a full head of hair. We used these, and it was successful. We have seen some success with these. We've started to reduce the crime rate with the Kia and Hyundai. So we'll continue until some real results get done. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I introduce Commissioner, let me add that the devices that are lacking are called engine immobilizers. And from 2011, 2022, Kia and Hyundai failed to include this basic technology when every other car manufacturer, almost every other car manufacturer, was using this technology and including engine immobilizers. And so this is a real, not just an oversight, but a real failure by Kia and Hyundai to include this basic feature in what most modern cars have as their standard equipment. And with that, Commissioner Caffarelli.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for hosting. It's good to see you, Senator and Attorney General. It's great to see you. There is a great partnership, and I appreciate working with you and look forward to doing so as the months and years progress. I also want to thank you in particular for acting on this important issue. And despite the fixes, as you noted, there's many issues that remain with Kias and Hyundais. You know, vehicles are a major purchase for families in the state, and they deserve to know that their cars will be secure and not subject to issues like these. It's a large expense, and they have a right to assume that their vehicle is protected from easy theft, rather. This trend that you referred to that went viral over the past couple of years has resulted in the thefts of thousands of cars. You heard some stats from the chief that Hyundais and Kias are the ones that are majorly affected in this area and across the state, I believe. The Attorney General put it very well, but Kia and Hyundai have promised fixes. It's a shame that it's gotten to this point, but I am very happy and thankful that you've taken these actions and will continue to fight for the consumers of the state. Again, just a simple reminder, use a steering wheel lock, park in a secure location when it's possible, and thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you.
Senator.
Senator Moore.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Attorney General Tong, for your leadership. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chief, and your team. In order to try and address thefts, you have to have a multi-pronged approach. But resiliency is critical from the vehicle's perspective. You know, this cell phone that I have has better anti-theft protection than some of these cars. It would require code that only I can use. It will require, I can actually shut it down if somebody steals this. I can track this when it's there. It's not in my hands. And this is some of the very basic things. The technology has been there for somebody not to address that and then get us to this point to have this becoming one of the most common vehicles to be stolen. It's a failure. And we are very thankful, Attorney General, for you and your leadership in this effort. Looking forward to working with you in this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, any questions?
I always do.
Sure.
What does it mean, like a full-blown consumer investigation? Obviously, it was big news when you and 17 AGs called for a recall.
Yeah.
What does this mean? What's the difference
So-
for folks at home watching?
So when we called for a recall, that was a multi-state action with 18 total states acting together, calling on Kia and Hyundai to do a voluntary recall, but calling on the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration, NHTSA, to order a recall. Neither of those things have happened. So now, actually, it's the commissioner's authority. We're exercising the state's authority through the commissioner, and I join with the commissioner in exercising the state's consumer protection authority under our consumer protection laws here in Connecticut to protect residents from these risks and these dangers that are getting people hurt and getting people killed.
Great, so with that, you guys have this.
We're
authority.
deploying our investigators, we're deploying our lawyers, and we're going to put a lot of heat on them.
Is it just the lack of the immobilizer that makes these particular cars the issue?
So I'm not a car person or an expert, but that's the main feature, is that these days it should be hard to hotwire a car like Starsky and Hutch, right? Like you shouldn't be able to take a screwdriver and just make it happen like in the movies. And the reason why is because there's a lot of computer technology on cars. Remember, we had those car shortages because there weren't any chips, and cars are much more sophisticated today. But then there's a specific type of device, this engine immobilizer, which almost every other car has, that blocks you from starting the car if you don't have a key or a fob.
Do you know at what point, how long that has been a commonplace feature in other cars?
At least since 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's
Been around for a long time. Right, which is why when you bring out the club, you're like, flashback, Back to the Future.
Attorney General, is there another example of when you guys have done this state's authority? You've done this with the consumer protection.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Our consumer protection teams work together on fighting Delta 8, for example, and that's under the state's cannabis laws as well. But every state has basic consumer protection authority. Our investigation of Juul, much of our work around opioids also includes our consumer protection authority. The basic law is known as the Connecticut Unfair Trade Practices Act, which the commissioner and I are charged with enforcing.
Just trying to give viewers at home understand the scope of
Yeah.
this. I mean, it could take some time, but it's just another, you're putting more heat on.
Yeah, yeah.
Chief, could you describe the program, the East Hartford program with the clubs? How many clubs have you guys given out? How's it funded? Is it just for the Kia and Hyundais?
Yeah, so just for the Kia and Hyundais, our program, we've given out a couple hundred so far. The initial batch, because we needed them right away, because we were having the problem was grave. Have you heard of my numbers? And 50% of my cars were Kias and Hyundais, so we bought them with some asset forfeiture money. We then asked and reached out to Hyundai and Kia, to the manufacturer, to say, you have some culpability here, can you help us out? And they did. They did send us a few hundred clubs, so we have them as well. So here, if you're a resident, you come, we can come out and come see you. We'll get it to you. We'll get you a club if you're a resident. What we did do through our tax department, we reached out to our community to see who has a Kia or a Hyundai in those years, and we'll get you a club.
But let me just say, this is not going to cut it, right?
Yeah.
That's why we're here. This is us stitching together, and the chief and the officer stitching together a solution. Kia and Hyundai are global companies. They have effectively unlimited resources. They need to pull these cars in and put in the engine immobilizers, and they haven't done it. So don't throw us a few clubs out of your spare petty cash, right? Make it right for Connecticut consumers and families before somebody else gets killed.
Yeah, this is a short-term fix. The responsibility of my citizens, I had to get something out there, and this is what we did. And like the Attorney General said, short-term fix. We should not have to do this. And this technology is not perfect as well. But if you go back to the 90s, like I said, that's when you didn't have the immobilizers, because it's something like when the car's not reading. It's a very simple chip. It's a very simple technology when you get into the technology in today's cars, as you said, Senator. It's you have that in there. It recognizes, wait a minute, the car's not being started the way it should be. So everything shuts down, it won't start. Where these cars don't have that technology. Most cars have that technology now because it's very, very inexpensive when you're building out the car.
Do you know of any other towns that have done something similar to this, or is this just unique to East Hartford?
I believe there is a few towns that have done this. This started, it was actually one of my investigators. He's actually in sergeant training right now. He'd found an old memo from me back in when I was a major crimes commander in Hartford PD, and said, I did this with Hondas, if you remember that, back in the day. And it worked. We drove down our numbers considerably using these, reached out to communities. So same type of thing. Before that was the Buicks, as you were talking about. It was a lever. You just jam a screwdriver in the right part. All those cars are dead and buried now.
But Chief, how frustrating is it? You guys are spending money that you could be spending towards something else, and resources, half of the thefts are there. So how frustrating, like, what is it taking from your department? The toll, what is the toll?
It's super frustrating because we have to get out to the community, let them know we spend a lot of man hours just getting these, purchasing these, using asset forfeiture money we would have used elsewhere. And for old technology, it's really, this is not a fix. We need the fix, and that's why we thank the Attorney General and Consumer Protection for stepping up. Because like I said, this is a consumer problem that led to a criminal problem. And it's kids doing it. They're stealing the cars over and over again, and they're getting hurt, or they're hurting other people joyriding. These cars aren't being stolen to be shipped out overseas or pulled apart for parts. They're for joyriding.
And it's tying up your men and women who could be doing other things.
Absolutely. Yeah, the price of this, the cost of this is nationwide in the millions, probably the billions, with the loss, the car loss, consumer loss, loss of lives, and a lot of people are getting hurt.
Do you happen to know the price tag on the club program as far as the asset forfeiture goes? How much does it cost?
I don't know off the top of my head. I believe we're paying maybe $15 a club. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's that. It's a discount. This club is actually specifically built for a law enforcement program, and working with the club.
And with the 100 stolen cars that you mentioned, about half of those are Hyundai Kias. Is that a trend you've seen the last few years? Is it more this year?
No, it's been ramping up. We've definitely seen a trend start probably a few years ago, like the Attorney General said with the TikTok, and once the information got out, it went viral, as you say.
Yeah.
And then we've just been seeing it get worse and worse.
And just lastly, just to kind of, if you could explain, what is the official end goal here? Is it a full recall? Is it a fix? What do you want to happen with this full-blown investment?
At the end of the day, I want Kia and Hyundai to step forward to make this right. But if they don't, we will sue them, and we will hold them accountable, and we'll make them pay. This is not hard for them. They just need to make a corporate decision, right, at the very highest level somewhere, to make this right and to protect people here in East Hartford and across this state, and to protect our officers. By the way, who's at risk when some kids steal a car and without regard to their own safety and the safety of others, go driving around in a joyride? The police officers are at risk.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? State Representative Henry Jenga is here. I just want to acknowledge him and his support. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. If you ever need anything, pleasure.
Do you have another one of those clubs they can shoot to?
No, I'm town hall.
I'll document it, but yeah.
No, if it's a big